Hello, everybody, and welcome to our second podcast of our Student Experience Day. This is a part of our Create the Creative series of podcasts and streams and things. This one is called New Voices, Creativity, Representation and the Future of the Industry. But the theme of it is still going to be about diversity in the industry and what that means going into the future. So I have guests with us today. I have Karen Pawlowska from Take One TV.
Hi.
I have Damian from Studio 8 Entertainment.
Hiya.
I have Michelle Heeley from Freeform Productions.
Hey.
And I have Ashleigh Davies. A warm welcome back to Ashleigh. So she's our ex-student, so I have who is Head of Educational Programmes and Services from Solid State Logic.
Hello.
So welcome back to our podcast strand. So across today's podcast conversations, we're looking at diversity in the creative industries in a broad and practical way. So we're talking about access, background, class, confidence, representation, opportunity, creative voice, different routes into the sector, what students need to understand if they want to progress. We're going to do all that in 45 minutes.
Nice.
I know, right? This second conversation is really about opportunity. So it's about why different voices matter, how different sectors work, how students can use their own perspective creatively and what they should start doing now. So I'm basically going to start off with a round of introductions. So Karen, could you briefly introduce what Take One TV does and what you do in Take One TV?
Right, okay. So we're a video production company based in High Wycombe and we do mainly corporate videos. Generally they're people videos. So what we focus on is finding out what makes a business different from its competitors, which is usually the people within it, and tell their stories. My job is to cuddle the client and to get out of them the information that they often feel is not important, but actually is the thing that will make them engage with other people.
Okay. Damian, could you introduce your work as, it says director-producer, but we were talking about producer-directors earlier, so.
So I am a freelance producer, director, but I also write scripts. I've got one foot in TV and I'm trying to get my feet into film as well.
Oh,
I've
okay.
already made a feature film. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Michelle, could you tell us a little bit about your role in Freeform and the kind of programmes and development work that you are involved in?
Okay, so I'm the creative director of Freeform, but I exec produce the programmes. Freeform makes a place in the sun. So I oversee that, which is a huge team and lots of teams on location all the time. I also am a creative director of another indie, which is producing content for BBC, Channel 4, Channel 5, and leading the teams on that.
Okay, so it's basically it's a high end. Shall I say a highfalutin job? It's kind of like you seem to be in charge of things with a lot of moving parts in them.
Yeah.
And Ashleigh, could you introduce your role and your connection to it says here to music education and young creatives? But what do you do? What do you do for SSL?
What do I do? So I'm the head of education at SSL. SSL are a manufacturer of audio equipment, specialising in analogue. So we have large format mixing consoles. That's kind of our legacy and what we're known for, but we also manufacture smaller products such as outboard, 500 series, audio interfaces, as well as software. And so I am the head of education. I oversee all things education, and particularly have spent the past year building and launching the SSL Certified Training Partner Program. So it enables us to partner with institutions so that we can help deliver better education to students with regards to our products.
So I'm going to come back a little bit to certification and what that might mean in terms of opportunities for students, because obviously as the SSL, delivering the SSL certification is one thing, but quite a lot of companies deliver certification, some of who you've worked for in the past.
I have, so, indeed.
So I think we might come across that as a potential opportunity for students going forwards. So this first one is about routes into creative work. So Karen, I've got here, I'm assuming that this research has been done right, but it says here that your route included music, admin, the BBC, production, archives, and client-facing work. Yeah. So how does that work? I mean, that's a lot of that seems to be a route through a lot of things.
How does that work? It's an interesting question because I think people's route into this industry is often quite windy. You don't know, because you don't know when you first start out what's out there anyway. You don't know what jobs are there. So you kind of get a taste of something in one area, and that highlights something else that you might think, oh, actually, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. And that was really what happened to me. I'd been singing on backing tracks at Pinewood and with BBC Orchestra and stuff like that, with a small choir, and then saw how programmes were being made and thought, I quite like that. I couldn't get into the BBC at that point, but then I went off and did a lot of admin about the back-end production of things and learnt how to do that. And then that got me into the BBC because they needed people that had that skill. And then it's just a question. I quite like moving around and doing different things.
So in terms of the different ways in, I mean, the lesson for students, I guess, is that quite often the job you end up with won't be a job that you'd heard of when you started
I would
up.
think so now. Students who are studying right now, probably there'll be jobs that haven't even been designed yet. They don't know about them. But you can still start at a very basic level, finding your feet in the industry, even if it's at the level of running for something, or something very basic, to find out what all the other jobs are that are out there.
Ashleigh, I'm going to come back to you in a minute because I know something about your route into work, obviously, but yours was quite windy as well.
Very.
So maybe talk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so, as you know, I was studying here, and I was on, at the time, the HND that you guys were running.
Yeah.
And I kind of got an internship at Avid and decided to leave halfway through my HND to go there. And I was working on Avid's learning programs, so supporting all of their training partners, delivering certification for Media Composer, Sibelius, Pro Tools. After the year's internship kind of was up, they kept me on and I was there for a good number of years. Before I then decided to kind of take a brief break from Avid to go and work for Pinewood's creative audio team. So I went over there, did... I think I was there around a year doing audio post-production, so working on feature films, games, cinematics, TV, and then decided that potentially that wasn't for me. I didn't really want to work for a facility, so I went back to Avid and then was doing freelance work in sound design and mixing as well on the side, and then was made redundant from Avid, so then went over to SSL. So kind of hopping and jumping around, and audio education has kind of always been at the heart, though. It's always kind of where I've been the most passionate. So
it's quite interesting that the job you end up with isn't necessarily the job that you think you want, because the thing that strikes me about that is that you went to pursue your dream of being a sound engineer, basically.
Yeah.
And then actually you just preferred working for...
Yeah. It was more of like I like doing this on the side as a hobby rather than, actually making it my... It was no longer my passion.
Yeah. I'm Damian. I'm going to come to you and ask you kind of very similar thing. Did you have like a straightforward route in, or did you have do you have a lot of irons in the fire?
Mine's kind of a cautionary tale as well. So very early age, and this is like, I'm sure lots of people can relate to this. Love film. Wanted to be a film director. Loved all the greats. And obviously this was before you could film anything with your phone, or you could buy a camera on eBay for like £100. So studied media, A-level, uni, found a core group of friends, which is extremely important, who all shared the same passion. And then I was very lucky. This is slightly where kind of who did help, but I got a job. My sister went to school with the owner of Red Productions, which was a Manchester-based TV company that specialised in drama. So I got a job there as a casting assistant, casting extras, which was like really tedious. But you got to go on set and you saw all the mechanics, and again, you just kind of fall in love with the process. And again, this was 30 years ago, so a lot of the jobs were based in London. And so again, I was very lucky. My sister had moved to London. I just kind of sofa surfed there. And again, through my passion of film, I was like, right, I'm just going to try and get a job as a runner. So I found out can't remember how you did it back in the day. It was like the Yellow Pages or something. And found out who all the kind of heads of development were for like working title pictures, who were, on the up, and I got in with Working Title Pictures, and they were crewing up for the very first Bridget Jones' Diary movie. And I think I wrote, like, I kind of heard somewhere to try and make your pitch stand out. So I think I like designed an A4 paper saying wanted, and like with my picture or something, and it got me in the door. And she offered me the job, and I was like, oh my God, it's a fantastic company. And it was when Kate Winslet was cast as Bridget Jones, and then she pulled out. And then they were like, look, we'd love you to be a part of the team and the family, but we don't know when we're going to recast. And so that didn't help a 22-year-old lad who needed money. And this is the cautionary tale. So I started applying for jobs just in TV, thinking film, TV, same thing. And I got offered a job with, it was a TV show called The Joe Wiley Show. And they were like, look,
I remember that. As a music person, I very much
it was amazing.
remember.
They had great guests, and they were like, look, you'll be like shooting B camera, and you'll be, and I was like, what were they saying? Like, our guests are like, we've got J-Lo booked in, and like, there's a new guy from NSYNC called Justin Timberlake, and he's doing his own. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be filming and meeting all these people. And I stupidly went, love it. And then from that moment, you have to realise there are two forks. And because you have to earn money, and this again is a cautionary tale about being freelance. It's very easy to say, I don't want to go and, work abroad for something like A Place in the Sun. You don't have a choice. It's like, it's a job, so you take it. And before you know it, once you start going down the TV route, it's very hard to get back onto the film route. And so I think at a very early age, just experience everything and just make content and fall in love with the sector of the industry that, is your tipple. And you only get to know that by, like the guy said before, just study the greats and watch great movies and watch great TV shows. And even if you don't think, Big Brother back in the day was groundbreaking. It was like this social experiment. Now reality TV is a completely different beast, why people get into it. And it's like, unfortunately, they are the shows that are being commissioned, and that's where you get work. So, I've spent the last 5 years working on a show that pays really good money, and it's slightly creative, but it's not something that I choose. And if I could go back all those years, would it have been beneficial to get a bar job and just wait to I think the moment you start treating yourself as a product, because you're a mechanism in this big juggernaut that's either film or TV, and you have something to offer, but it's like, and the industries are quite like, even though you could be directing something for, reality TV, you could probably direct, like, drama. I got invited to do this 1 week course for Emmerdale so they can, like, harvest new directors. And I was like, this is just not, it's so formulaic. This is, and if you want to work with actors, and I was, like, asking all these questions, and the guy who was, like, doing the course, he was like, you can't tell an actor who's been playing this character for 10 years how to, how he would think waking up to the new, so it's just, and I don't know, it was an eye-opener, and it's like, yeah.
So it sounds like this kind of thing where there's windy routes, and you may not end up where you thought you were going to end up, but at some point in some of these industries, there's going to come a point where you're going to end up somewhere for good, and you need to make sure that's the right place.
I just think you need to make sure, or decide as early as possible, what path you want to take. But unfortunately, you have to earn money. So jobs in film and drama, it's like, once you're in, they tend to use the same teams, and they go for, like, even like the biggest blockbusters, I've got friends who just literally go from, right, we've just finished Bond, and now we go on to Mission Impossible. And like, once you're in, but it's hard to get in. And it's about making a noise. And because you could be the next Steven Spielberg, no one's going to come knocking on your house going, like, you have to treat yourself as a product and wave furiously going, look, check out my content. I'm great. Because if you don't believe in yourself, it's something across all of my area. I mean, music and media it's like there's you just being a genius in your own bedroom ain't going to be. It's not going to work. Yeah,
you've got to.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it might work if you just want to do it as a hobby, but it's not going to work.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, also there's benefit to trying lots of things as well.
Oh,
and being known and seen, doing whatever you're doing it well.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's the great thing about education. It's like you've got guardrails to try stuff and fail and learn and go, oh, you know what, I didn't like. We had some work experience people on Made in Chelsea last year, and they were like, oh, I want to be a cameraman. And they thought directing was like, you kind of forget what these job titles are, and you just kind of group them all together, and you think, but it gets quite specific. So long as you know what your strengths are, but like, just try everything, and especially in this day and age when there are so many platforms, you can go and make your own content. So, like you said, know about, like, as a filmmaker, I can edit, I can sound, I can like you have to do that, because 9 times out of 10, like, I've been trying to get funding for a film for 3 years. May never happen, but it's like, okay, so what are the back door entries here? And
it is interesting. In the previous podcast, I will come to you in a minute, Michelle. I'm going to come back to you in a sec, because I'm quite interested in how this works in your industry, about whether people kind of do come from one place or a lot of different places. I'd just like to kind of touch on something that came up in the earlier podcast, which was films like Backrooms, which has been there's been a big splash about that. And as I understand it, the guy who directed that was because he was quite heavily involved in the online community that was kind of making Backrooms content as a hobby kind of thing, as a viral thing, was making a lot of YouTube videos about it, and that was how he got his way into doing the directing gig for that film. They said, why not have the creator in the community who's really, really well known in the community for making content, and
that
give him a
also
film.
is clever marketing as well, because they've been like, Hollywood have been looking to YouTube and other platforms for like the past 15 years. It's just, so I was very fortunate to have a meeting with the CEO of the Curzon cinema chain, and he was like going, we do not know how to survive and how to pivot, and what we need to do is get Gen Z specifically back into the cinema. And so it's not just coincidence that Obsession and Backrooms are Gen Z specific, and they're just marketed. Oh my God, look, Curry Barker, and it's like so many people have come. Like, it's a great platform to express yourself and to wave that hand and go, I exist. But they have been doing it for a long time. Yeah, it's great.
Michelle, I'm going to come to you now. Mm-hmm. So just talking about your industry. So we have. Do people come through in your TV production and in what you do, are people just coming from one place, or do you get people from a lot of different places? Or
you mean the roots, education roots?
Well, the education and the roots. I mean, when you recruit, is it from all over the place, or is it quite specific, or how does that work?
It's quite different. So a lot of people have come through the university and have got media degrees, but not everyone has. And in fact, quite recently, I've got quite a few new people on my team that are older, that have done something completely different before, in marketing or even nothing to do with media, and have just thought, you know what, I fancy this. But what in TV production, you've got the skills. If you can pick up the phone, if you can talk to people, if you can research things, then we can build on all of those other skills. So I've had new people arrive that have not had any of this amazing training, but we can teach people on the job as well. So I don't think people think, oh, I have to go to university. You don't. You could just do something completely different and then come in and we'll train you. But yeah, a lot of people, I went to university, and a lot of people, my kind of peers, would have done media at university.
Okay, I'm going to go through to the next question. So this is really about when we talk about diversity. We quite often talk about barriers. So we talk about these students have a barrier to doing this, but also we talk about creative strengths. So I'd like to maybe think a little bit. I'm going to come to you first, Michelle, because I came to you last time on how these different voices and backgrounds and perspectives matter creatively. So from your perspective in your industry, how important is it to understand all these different audiences and stories?
So when I first started 28 years ago, and probably more like 40, 50 years ago, the media, the TV industry was mainly white, middle-aged men, and that was it. There was no diversity. They were very posh people, come from posh backgrounds, and that's all it was. And it was really hard then for people to get in. And then it was who you know. If you know somebody, then you might get in that way. And that's changed. That has totally changed. And that's really important because we're making content, we're making TV shows that has to reflect everybody's voice in the UK. And if it's a load of white, old, middle-aged men making it, how do they know what young people, what diverse groups think? So it's really important now. So our workforce is diverse. And the channels that we make content for, the BBC, Channel 4 and Channel 5, they all want to know that we're making teams of people that have come from all walks of life, underrepresented backgrounds, diverse backgrounds, different ages as well. And that's really important for us to be able to tell the stories. We need that on the workforce. And there's like BBC and Channel 4, they all do schemes for people to get into the industry that focus on encouraging people from underrepresented groups. And there's charities like Mama Youth Project who are really good. So there's loads of opportunities out there now that just weren't there even probably 10 years ago.
And I'm going to come back to you, Damian. So as a PD,
I'm
is
not
it PD
a
or DP?
But anyway,
Yeah.
go on.
But what does a different point of view bring to storytelling? So these kind of diverse points of view.
Everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything. Yeah. But then at the same time, like again, you'll probably know more about this. But it's like when something gets commissioned, it's people like to be safe, don't they? It's like, right, this was a hit, let's replicate this. And so even though within the team there's lots of diversity, I think that actual voice of that show will be quite formulaic. Is that not a fair assumption?
Sometimes, I think. I think it depends on the show.
It does, but if it's a formatted show that has been running for so long, it's like there's not a lot of room for... So that then goes, where is your wiggle room? And I think that's when the specific producers or the executive producers, they go, OK, let's find, like, there's some kind of wiggle room somewhere to express your voice. Go on.
Well, I was just going to say, so, OK, Place the Sun's a really formatted show and you think, OK, you can't do that. But that's a case of making sure that your presenting team are diverse. I've worked a lot with Anita Rani, and she says when she was growing up watching TV, there was no girls like her that looked like her that were on TV. And she's really into representation now. And it's really important that we have all kinds of faces on the TV.
Oh, my... yeah. But in terms of that content, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, with the Place in the Sun, yeah, it's very formulaic. But then we might go to a place that's very LGBTQ+, and there's a gay couple.
You might have people on there, a couple on
Yeah,
there.
Exactly.
all the time.
So you can actually work that quite well.
But things that 50 years ago wouldn't have happened. We have loads of gay couples that come on. We go to areas and we talk openly on the programme about it. Again, stuff that wouldn't have happened 50 years ago.
Okay, Ashleigh, I'm going to come to you. I will come to you as well. So I'd like to maybe have a look at it from a music perspective. So is difference part of to you maybe what makes part of what an artist or performer needs to stand out?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the music industry is really great for that. You know, we do have quite a diverse industry in terms of artists in particular, and I think that is what makes that particular person very unique and their sound. You know, the idea of your music is very much an expression of yourself. You know, what are you interested in, and what voice? You know, it's about finding your voice. What story do you want to tell through your music? So I think having a diverse industry if all music was the same, we'd all get bored, right?
Yeah.
So,
very easily bored.
It's exactly what makes our industry so diverse and what makes that entertainment that everybody is listening to so great. And, we have things like certain genres and people follow those genres. And that's, through, for a diverse industry. So I think it's hugely important. Otherwise, we'll all get bored, quite frankly.
And Karen, I was going to ask you something very similar. Is kind of does having a diversity in having different voices in your organisation, whether it's kind of a media organisation or in non-profits and charities.
I think it enables you to get a different perspective on things. And that can be really valuable. But for us, it's also about looking at who the audience is for the content and what's going to fit with them as well. Getting different views on things, and also people with different backgrounds and skill sets. We have quite a lot of people who, for instance, have ADHD or are autistic or dyslexic, or those. So they all have very special skills which can be used once you recognise how they work, and they can be really, really valuable people within the organisation. And they may not be front of screen, but they can be really important in what they do. And I think recognising that and giving them a safe space to develop their own skills in a way that adds positive value is something that then increases their confidence to be who they are.
Okay, Ashleigh, I'm going to come back to you on this one because this is about as you're our music industry voice today, but it's quite interesting. I mean, you are a representative, I guess, of some of the hidden parts of the music industry that we don't often see. Mm-hmm. And you work for an equipment manufacturer essentially. Mm-hmm. It's very nice equipment that I can't quite afford, but it's very nice gear that I can't quite afford. And you've worked for software manufacturers, and you've worked as a mix engineer, so you've got quite a diverse range of experiences. Yeah. From maybe parts of the music industry people don't often see. When people think of the people up front are things like producers and performers, right? Mm. But behind them there's this vast structure of companies and providers making it all happen. So how does that compare to what the others have said about the TV sector? Does it feel like the music industry is quite similar? Is it different? Is it a lot more happening in terms of, I mean, how does it work in terms, is it more connected via things like social media? I mean, it's
an interesting one. I think, from what everyone else is saying, potentially the music industry is somewhat ahead then. I mean, we've had our problems, and I wouldn't necessarily just say the music industry, but also audio post-production, audio as a whole. We've always had a lack of women in the industry. It's always been a very male-dominated industry. And, we are every single year seeing more and more women coming into the industry. And I think that's always been the biggest challenge when it comes to diversity in the audio world is getting more women into the industry. There's been countless stories of, certain women coming into the industry, having a bad experience and then leaving the industry. And what, we're trying to do as an industry, and something I personally champion for, is just making sure everybody's experience within the industry is a positive one, and that there is none of this old school kind of mentality of, women can't do this same job. So I think that's the biggest challenge that we've always had to tackle in the audio world, but it is getting so much better. I'm literally, going through the process of employing someone right now, and, I gave everybody a fair shot. There was although I champion bringing more women into the industry, equally, I want to give everybody the equal opportunity. If a male can do the job better, the male can do the job better for what I personally need. And turns out, the successful candidate is female, so I'm bringing her into the industry. And, it's now kind of my job to make sure that she has a good experience and that she feels valued and that she's able to thrive and grow.
Because I think in my experience way back when, it is the case that especially some of the more technical things, you talk about sort of mix engineering jobs, audio engineering jobs, and it's a bit of a boys' club.
Yeah.
and there's a certain amount of kind of tech is for boys vibe about some of these things.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that's the same in. I'll come to you because you're nodding wisely.
Yeah,
So
I think in TV, it's not so much that, it's more the unpredictable hours, it's the long hours, it's the suddenly at a drop of a hat going to have to film abroad. And like it or not, women take the brunt of the childcare, don't they? And a lot of my female friends left the industry because they can't just suddenly go drive 3 hours and be overnight on a shoot because they've got kids at home. And so that is really hard. And I'd like to say it's getting better, but the work-life balance in TV is still crazy. It really is, and it is harder. So I had good childcare, that's all I can say.
I think that's improved slightly coming out of COVID with the remote working and stuff, and a lot more of the male partners are working from home, and that's being able to be shared a little bit more. So there is some improvement.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a real problem, yeah.
And I am wondering about how that affects, especially, I mean, things like editing, which potentially could be done at home. If that has helped broaden diversity a little bit within the industry, because it's really interesting. You said post-COVID, there's been a lot of remote working. People can do stuff, because I know that you do stuff at home doing sound for games and sound films on Reaper on a laptop, essentially.
No, Pro Tools.
Is it Pro Tools?
Always Pro Tools. Always die-hard Pro Tools.
Always die-hard Pro
Absolutely.
Tools user.
Yes, I do, yeah.
But it's kind of so, and that's something that is feasible now, especially with kind of like the power of modern equipment and software. So I was wondering if that had helped in terms of diversity and recruitment, certainly help people to stay in the industry maybe.
Possibly, but you can't direct remotely.
No, that's true. You can't.
With what we do, you have to be on location. So yeah.
Okay. I've got some stuff about what students potentially misunderstand about creative industries. And I have a quote which I think is Karen from you. I hope it's from you, because I'm hoping you know it's right. It says, students sometimes misunderstand creative work as kind of glamorous and sort of arm wavy and a bit flappy. Yeah. But actually, you said something about creativity has structure.
Yes.
And maybe you could explain that or expand on it.
I find that students coming in, they find that the hours are a lot more than they expected, and that the structure is more than they expected. It's not just stick up a camera and film it, just what happens. There's structure behind making that happen that has to be there. Otherwise, you end up with a whole load of post-production that you don't need, or stuff that you can't use. And I think the thing that is important is to understand that everyone does have a part. You can't all be on camera. You can't all be doing this. Or it's actually, there's a whole team of people that you have to fit in with. And I think it's the hours that mostly people think that, I don't know what they do in the college here, but I know that when we ask people to do a 10-hour day sometimes, which is average, it's an average day for us when you're out filming, quite often say, but after 6 hours, I'm tired, I don't want to do any more. But that's, you've got to finish this programme. And getting that stamina together, I think, is quite important.
Okay, that's an interesting. I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a round on what students misunderstand about the industry. So, Damian, I'm going to come to you. What do you think if a student goes, I want to be a director? What's maybe the thing that they get wrong that they should know?
I don't know. I kind of disagree. I think it is glamorous, right? The hours are so I leave my house 6:30 a.m. Take my dog to the dog sitter. Then I go to the train station. Then I do potentially a 12-hour day, so it's 12-hour buyouts. Then I get my dog. I don't get back home till 9:30 p.m. I have a glass of wine, have some. It's brutal, but I've been to, the past 5 years, I've been to Bali, South Africa. It's a great job. And if you can get in, be thankful for it. Not I think so many people, and I think what you were saying, they go into it just thinking it's a normal 9 to 5, but you're filming it's brutal. And that's why, there must be a reason why all my friends have married people within the industry. Because it's like a family, isn't it? You're on location, and it's like a family, and they get to know you, and You know, and they see you when you're vulnerable after a long day, and you have a glass of wine, and you bitch about this, and they become this support network, and it's so, and this is what, like, before when we were talking about what's really important, it's having a group. So even when you're a student, find your tribe of people who will champion you and who you can brainstorm and bounce off, because it's the same once you get into the industry. You'll have and be likable as well, because like it's just the really simplistic things that you take for granted. Like some people, because we're all freelancers, but they tend not to move around. Like when you find a good group of people that can make, because you're right, you know, budgets are shrinking, it's harder to make content, and so it's like when you have this shorthand with people, and you use the same cameraman who knows how you think and how you like stuff framed, or it's like, and so that's when being likable and just like people want to spend time with you. And
you spend a lot of time with your family,
oh my
crew
God,
family, so you've
absolutely.
got to get on with
More than your
people.
real family.
Yeah, more than your real family.
Yeah. But it's like, you know, like A Place in the Sun. You get to go to some fantastic places. Like, what other job gives you that?
Yeah.
It's so.
But don't think it's easy just because
But
they're going there.
Yeah.
You're filming
You're
in
still
40
working.
degree
Yeah,
heat.
you're not going to be on the beach, are
No,
you? 'Cause
you're
kind
not.
of,
That's it. Like you're carrying 6 sandbags along the beach, and then you're setting up, and but so it's definite rough with the smooth. Don't just think, oh, it's cool, it's glamorous, I work in TV or film. It's brutal, but it's, in my opinion, it's worth it.
I'm going to come back to you, Ashleigh, on this one, the same question, because it sounds a lot as well. You hear these stories of bands going on tour and they think it's going to be amazing. They're going to see all these cities. Actually, all they see is the inside of some quite cheap hotel rooms.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we're similar with my job. I do travel for work. Like what I do is I look after education on a global scale. So, but, you know, and even when I'm talking to just friends and, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm off to Spain next week, and then I'm in Italy, and they're like, oh my God, you know, that's so great. And I'm like, I'm on a plane at 4:30 in the morning because I have to be in a meeting at 9 a.m. I get to see the inside of a plane, the inside of a school, and then I'm back on the plane the same day back. It's not a holiday.
Yeah, it's work.
It is work, yeah.
But is it cool work?
I love it. You know, it's something that I'm passionate about. So, you know, I get to go into schools and I get to see different facilities, and I get to, you know, sit on curriculum boards and advise on curriculum and if they're teaching the right things. And it's just so diverse, the role that I do. So for me, I love it, but maybe not for everyone.
Yeah. So I think it's a case of it's hard work, and that's kind of why you need to be passionate about it. If you find your thing.
Yeah.
Then if you're really passionate about filmmaking or music or whatever it happens to be, then because you need that drive. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, those 10-hour days are going to get a little bit.
I do want to touch on what you were talking about in terms of structure. It works exactly the same for the audio world. You know, there's always, no matter whether you're in music or audio post, there's always a structure. You know, when you're, and what I always say is, you know, our industry is 99.9% customer service. We're always working for a client, and there's always a structure within that workflow. Be it in audio post production when you're, you know, having to work through deliverable sheets, but also in a commercial music studio, you're dealing with a client and the artist, and you're having to make sure you're documenting recall notes. There's always a structure to how you work that you have to adapt.
Well, even if you're a band playing a gig, you have to deliver to an audience. There's
Exactly.
a kind of deliverable there. You have to deliver something to an audience. It's the same when you're making a TV thing. You have to, at the end of the day, deliver to an audience as well.
Yeah.
Because someone has to like it. Mm-hmm. We're going back to that genius in your own bedroom thing, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I am going to just do a little bit more. I'm not sure how much time we have left. Edit this bit out. We've got a bit of time. We've got a bit of time. Okay. So I want to ask a little bit about creative identity and portfolio building, because we've had in the previous podcast some students having some advice, and we've had some in this podcast as well. Start getting stuff together now. Start getting, even if you're doing something like, you know, work for even work for your friends, or work for a little local community thing or a charity or something like that, get that stuff in your portfolio, because that extra stuff is quite often the stuff that gets you noticed. So I want to kind of like dive into that a little bit in terms of what people should start doing in terms of building a future in film or TV or audio. So, I mean, we're talking things about, you know, practical experience, contacts. Are there particular things they should be learning? Are there things they should be looking at? IT competencies, things like that. Karen, I'm going to come to you first on that one.
Well, the IT competency is really important now, because everything is based around IT in the equipment side of stuff, and the edit suites and the cameras. They've all got IT software in them, so that's really important. But I think the most valuable thing is when you're not in the formal education part of your journey, your spare time should be spent in still working on that passion that you've got there and building something, because that's going to mean more to a potential employer than your actual education part. The education is important, but it's the deliverable of what you're doing out there that you can show people. Yeah. And generally taking an interest in what's happening in film, on TV, what's the latest stuff that's going on, so that you can talk to people and connect with them.
And Michelle, I'm going to come to you, and I'm going to ask, if a young person comes today and talks to you after and said they're interested in TV ideas and production, what would you say to them? What would you want to see from them, I guess?
I think it's more, I think what you said there about being likeable is a really good thing. If you've got the opportunity to be doing work experience or work placements, make the most of that. Go in, ask questions, get involved. Don't just sit at a desk, say, can I do anything? What's this? And ask questions. I think that's the biggest thing. I think if there's a particular genre of programme that you like, watch that programme, find out which production company makes it, and start targeting them.
Completely,
if you like sport programmes, find out who makes all the sports programmes. If you like drama, find out the big drama production companies. If you like property, come to us. So it's whatever your passion is, but you don't have to just, you've got to just, don't have to decide, but whether you want to do camera or sound or directing or maybe production side, the admin side of it, that's fine, but also do it on a programme that you really enjoy doing. Yeah. Don't just do it on something because it's the sake, I want to be a cameraman, I don't really like property, but I'm going to go and shoot on it. You're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to enjoy the 12-hour days.
Okay.
And also there are different ways to shoot different programming. It's, you know...
So this very much kind of ties in with what you were saying earlier about about looking at the thing you're doing, and also about something that Simon was saying from Digital Orchard earlier on as well. And he was talking about how if you're applying for a job, make sure that you know about the company
that
and what
really
they're
impresses
doing.
me. When even very junior level, and they've looked us up, they've looked up our website, they've looked up me, that really impresses me. And if they're coming for an interview, this is a real bugbear of mine, if they're coming for an interview on A Place in the Sun, my first question will be, so have you seen A Place in the Sun? If they say no, that's just what is the point of me going any further? So they have to research the company that you're going for, research their content, research the people that are interviewing you. So come in really informed.
Yeah. So Damian, I'm going to call to you as well. So if I'm a young producer or a young filmmaker, and what should I be? What sort of thing should I be making? Is it again quite genre specific in the world of film?
Yes and no. It's like at this age, I would just like literally look at your favourite filmmakers and try and ape what they do, because at the moment you won't have your own voice. So it's about trying and failing and learning, and you're literally. It's like it goes back to the whole. You know, it is a grueling industry. If you don't have a passion, now is the time. Like literally, when I was growing up, I had to like go to the local college and like try and cajole the camera, and then you needed someone who, because they were these beasts. Now it's like you were saying about your son. It's like you can literally, you've got an edit suite on your foot. Like the tools are there to literally, like your learning curve can be like this. Whereas back in the day, you'd have to like read a book on lighting, or like now, have your breakfast and watch a YouTube on like, I don't know, composition, or you know, get the latest Roger Deakins podcast while you're going to work. There's so much information there, and I'm so jealous. But utilize it and again, find your own little community. It could even be just like 2 or 3 of your mates But it's like that's how everyone starts, by just.
And it sounds like as well you have to kind of try out a range of things to find your voice.
Oh my God,
You've got to try loads and
absolutely.
loads of genres to find your own voice. You have to kind of have a look at things via other voices almost first to try and figure out what that. You've got to kind of figure out what that is.
Yeah. But you only find your voice by creating content, and you know, even if it's like writing scripts, just like start reading scripts by like great script writers like Aaron Sorkin or whoever. It's like, because that's the only way you learn, by practice.
And I'm finally going to come to you back, Ashleigh, on this one and talk about, you know, when you're starting off in the music industry in your weird and windy path to working for SSL. What is the thing? What should young people interested in music making kind of be doing? What's the main thing they should be looking at?
So it's one thing that I didn't do, but I wish I did. Was, you know, and being in this industry for now 12 years, I'm seeing more and more people come into the industry, and it's all about networking. It's all about connecting with other people. And, you know, my biggest recommendation for students these days is there's so many different events that go on in London. We're in Amersham, and I think, you know, most of your students are somewhat local can get into London.
Metropolitan line's not very far away.
Exactly. And so we've got like the media production and technology show. Everyone seems to think that that's, you know, just a video orientated show, but actually there's a lot of music stuff that happens there. You know, all of the big brands are there, and just think of it like you have the entire industry under one roof to just go and talk to. You know, there's other events like Gear Expo, and just going and making connections with people is probably the biggest thing for me. That, and also, you know, from a more kind of technical side of things and like creative, is just, as you say, getting your portfolio together like in a nicely packaged, presentable way, so that, you know, whether you're going into audio post-production, that could be in the form of show reels that you can send to people to really showcase your work. But also on the music side, you know, have your music available so that people can give it a listen. Kind of just building your network and getting your work out there is probably the biggest thing, I would say.
Can I just add one thing as well, probably more from our side of things? Be prepared to start at the bottom. Yeah. Just because you've got a college qualification or a university degree, you're not going to come in as a director. You're not. You're going to have to start at the bottom. Be prepared, and that might be being a runner for a bit and then working your way up. But that I think that's a big misconception that people think.
So same for us as well.
That's such a good. So again, work experience people came in last year and they're like, so how would you apply to be a director then? I'm like, dude, literally, and like my passion was filmmaking, and I was good with the camera and this. I didn't get a director credit for 8 years. It's like you have, there is a hierarchy, and I think quite rightly so as well. It's like you've got to earn your stripes, but at the same time, just because you're running, like one of the guys that I was working with, he was in his 30s, but he was a runner, and constantly asking questions, and literally he was a researcher because he was like so underutilized, but. That then, you're going to be a researcher for 2-3 years, if you're lucky. Then you've got to be an AP, and you've got to be, just like you said, don't be disillusioned. Like you're going to go, right, I've got this great qualification, and I can operate a camera, and I've done a short film. Look, it doesn't matter. You have to start at the bottom.
And make yourself useful when you're there.
Absolutely, yeah.
And memorable.
And make a good cup of tea. That's probably the most important.
Was an apprentice actually, was someone who we took on as a runner, and he was always there when the camera battery was about to fall out. He was always there when you could tell it was getting a bit stressed, with a pad to come and make a round of tea. He was
chocolate.
Always there, and of course he got employed he stayed with us for ages, but he got employed very quickly.
Such a good example, yeah. Just be observing and almost second guessing, and you know what? It's like people will love you forever for it.
Oh, absolutely.
And you'll get you'll get employed.
Being a safe pair of hands is probably the
Completely.
number one thing, and I think all the creative industries, being that reliable person at that point, you make yourself indispensable.
And we were talking about this a couple of years ago about being trustworthy.
Yeah.
About people need to trust you technically, and they need to trust you creatively, and they need to trust you to turn up on time.
Turn up on time.
Punctuality is such a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple more. I think we probably have time to run this through. We're going to slightly overrun, but we'll edit it down, right? It'll be fine. So this one, we touched on this a bit when we talked about Backrooms, about our platforms changing who gets to speak and who gets noticed. So you hear a lot about people, you know, sort of suddenly blowing up on TikTok or who you wouldn't have heard of before. Is that changing kind of who gets noticed and who is there? I'm going to ask Michelle first, I think.
I'm not sure I'm the right person to ask. I think I make
Cut this.
I make content for all the big broadcasters. They just want the big names on there. They want your Alan Carrs and your Amanda Holdens. They're not interested in any newcomers. The more YouTube stuff, which I don't do anything to do with, probably more so. But that's not my area.
So going back to the portfolio, your socials is your portfolio, and start building your audience as well, because, and it's awful to say this, one of the first thing, I've got friends who work at like Lionsgate, the first thing they do is they look at people's socials, because you're bringing an audience, and that is how they monetize it. So and it's all well and good preaching this. I don't, like, my socials is me throwing a ball for my dog. But that's not my speciality, which is, it's my downfall. But which is why you should find, again, a group of people and go, you know what? I'm the director. You're the producer. You're in charge of socials, and before you know it, you've got this little creative mini hub that you all complement each other's skill set. Okay.
I'm going to come to Ashleigh and Karen as well.
I think in the music world, TikTok's definitely made a difference when people, we're seeing more and more artists coming in, and especially, from like the more support act kind of level. I think there was a show recently that SSL was the front of house console. So a few of my colleagues went to Lana Del Rey, and she had someone that I'd never heard of before, because I don't know, I'd never come across her on TikTok. But there was a TikTok star who was essentially, supporting Lana Del Rey. And she hadn't ever done any records before, never, released an album or anything like that. But they got her up on stage, and she was, singing her songs, and she, it was a bit wild for me to kind of hear that. But, to go straight from just having this social media platform with hundreds of thousands of followers, but straight to the big stage and I think it was at the O2. Yeah. So it's that, I think in a way, what TikTok allows you to do is reach such a wide audience so quickly that you in this particular case can just skip the middle bit and just go straight to being well known. So it feels like it's kind of shifted a little bit on the artist front. Not so much when we look at all the other roles that are in the industry. I don't think social media really makes much of a difference. I think you can show your passion for the industry via social media. I think that's a really important thing to do, particularly on things like LinkedIn and tagging your favorite manufacturers and your all the gear that you're using, because that gets you noticed. But our jobs on the other side, if you're not, I would say we're on the other side of the glass. We're not the performers. We're kind of in the background, and at that point, our social media doesn't really matter.
Okay, so I'm going to do a final round, because I'm overrunning. I'm sorry, guys, I'm overrunning. We're going to do a final round, so it's a couple of just one things. So very briefly, the first question, and I'll just go around in order. Just one thing. What is one opportunity? Just one opportunity. I know people could name 6 that students should be taking more seriously. Ashleigh.
Networking and events.
Karen.
Work experience.
Gosh, you've taken both of them, haven't you?
Yeah. I'll go around the other way for the next question.
Be passionate and just chase your passion, your dream.
Damian?
That's very broad, that, I think. I kind of second all of them. Like, they're all great. Networking, so important. Like, just go down to the BFI and just hang out, and just, like, there's so much. what did you say again?
Work experience.
Work experience. Like, just research all these companies and just ask for work experience. And
Or ask for coffee.
yeah,
Can I come in for coffee? I'm in the area.
because you know what, as well, people like to share their knowledge and their experiences. I think there's something about having been in the industry for so long, you actually want to help people and just try and clue them up into how it actually does work and just try and empower them to.
So
the
drop in
next
for a coffee.
generation.
We're going to say drop in for a coffee on that one. That's the
Drop
one
in
thing.
for a
Drop in
coffee
for
then.
coffee. All right, going to go back the other way. So you'll get first pick this time. One practical thing that they should do next. Just one thing. Damian.
What, after they leave here? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, let's go for after they leave here. Because the next thing, if we're showing this to prospective students, the next thing they should do is to sign up here, obviously. But after they leave here,
Well, as soon as they leave here, I would start making conversations with each person here and ask what they're in. Like, communication is so important because that transfers to when you're on location. If you don't have those interpersonal skills, I've seen so many people just take a step back and just wait to be asked to do something. What everyone was saying about going, okay, what do you need? Do you need another sandbag? Would you like a coffee? That takes confidence to actually. So just start now by making conversations with people that obviously share the same passions as you, which is to study the media.
Michelle.
I would pick up on that networking idea, especially where we live. There seems to be a really weird pocket around here where there's a lot of people that work in TV. And so I bet half of the students don't know what their dad's friends do or what their mom's friends do. Have they ever asked if there's anyone in their industry that might be able to help them? I don't think any of my son's friends know what I really do. So if they want to get into the industry, they should come and talk to me. So just ask around your immediate family because there will definitely be people around here that could help.
Karen, one thing.
We've taken work experience people to networking groups, and it's quite an eye-opener for everyone, actually, which is good. One thing, I would say don't always head for the big names. Look for some smaller companies, such as ourselves, because you will get a more rounded opportunity in smaller local businesses.
Okay. Ashleigh,
Get to know your brands.
would you like to expand on that a little bit?
Okay, you said one thing. I'm just
Yeah, I know.
So get to know your brands in terms of your manufacturers. So your Avids, your SSLs, Waves. All of these different plug-in manufacturers and audio hardware, because that is going to be a really good tool for when you do start to network and you do start to go and approach people. If you don't know what their products are, you're going to look like a bit of an idiot.
Yeah.
So get to know your brands.
So it's quite similar going back to kind of if you're applying for a job somewhere, make sure you understand what the company you're applying for actually does.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and don't just send a form letter, dear person, I'd like to work in industry.
Yeah, and be resilient. It's a really competitive industry and you're going to get knocked back. It's not going to happen straight away. So just be resilient.
I would also say don't necessarily use AI to write your letters
No.
because they all sound the same.
Yeah.
Be you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much indeed. I think that's it? I think that's a wrap. Okay, thank you very much indeed, everybody. Those of you who stayed for the second podcast for the thing, thank you so much. And I think we are done.
Wicked.
Thank
Hey.
you.
Thank you.
Right.